So do you know how long your drinks reception should actually last? Hello lovely brides and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lauren, wedding planner and owner of Bluebird Creative. If you haven't already, then make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, and you'll be notified every week when a new video lands. So let's jump into this week's video. This is the first part of a 3-part series on your wedding reception. Today we are talking all about the drinks reception. I am talking structure, I am talking length, the golden length of time that really works for drinks reception. We're talking canapes, we're talking food, we've got it all. So come on, let's jump in. Okay, so your drinks reception is the first part of your wedding reception. It is the first point where you actually start socialising with your guests as Mr. and Mrs. husband and wife. In fact, it's the first time that you actually start socialising as husband and wife, period. It comes straight after the ceremony. So if you're getting married in one location, for example, then you would literally smoothly transition from the wedding ceremony room or outdoors or wherever you've had the ceremony through to the area that you're having your drinks reception. If you're getting married in another location, then what will likely happen is that you will actually have a few photographs with your photographer after the ceremony at that location, and then everybody will obviously make their way over to the wedding reception venue where your drinks reception will then begin. So let's actually go through the structure of your drinks reception. So as I've just mentioned, you will likely have some photographs as a couple done straight after your ceremony. So whether that's at the church, for example, or if you're having a civil ceremony, it's at the same location. But your photographer is likely to take you off at that point for some couple shots, just the two of you. And really make the most of that time, because that is the first time you're together, just the two of you, as newlyweds. So it's a really nice opportunity to have a toast together and just enjoy 30 minutes of just you two, just taking in what the day is actually about. Obviously your photographer's there as well. Once you've had those shots, you'll then move to actually mingling with your guests. Now, if you've decided to have some set-up shots with some of your guests and your family, then that will probably take place immediately after your couple shots. It's a really good idea here to get your ushers, bridesmaids, best man, bridal party basically, actually involved in helping gather people for those particular shots. Give them your shot list prior to the wedding, and then they, between them, can gather all the right people for the photographer. The photographer won't know who people are, and it saves them shouting really loudly trying to find the right people. Hopefully between your bridal party and the groomsmen, they should know most of the guests and be able to get everybody together for you. So make use of those people. Whilst all the photos are going on, the rest of the guests will be mingling, they'll be socialising, they'll be eating, drinking, listening to music, perhaps being entertained by something that you've organised, whether that's lawn games or something else, which I will go on to in a minute. Once the drinks reception is then coming to an end, your Toastmaster, whether that is a best man, an usher, a wedding planner, an actual hired Toastmaster, or just one of your guests that you know is confident enough to actually speak out to the masses, they will then announce to everybody that people can start making their way through to the wedding breakfast to take their seats. At that point, everybody starts making their way through, whether that's via a receiving line, which we have talked about already, or whether they're just going straight through to have a look at the table plan or the escort card table. So as you can see, in terms of structure, this part of your wedding reception is pretty straightforward. In my opinion, in terms of length of time, the golden number is an hour and a half for your drinks reception. It is a really, really good amount of time to get the photos, for everybody to mingle and chat, for you to still have an opportunity to actually mingle and socialise with your guests as well, and for people to not have had too much to drink and to not get too hungry. So you're obviously going to be serving canapes, which will help line their stomachs, but they are going to need feeding, and you don't want to drag that out too long. You also don't want them having too many glasses of wine before they've actually sat down to have a meal. So an hour and a half is a pretty golden number if you ask me. You could go up to 2 hours, but I really recommend not going longer than 2 hours, and an hour is probably a bit too short. So an hour and a half to 2 hours if you have to. That's the golden number. Okay, so let's talk food and drink now. Obviously it is a drinks reception. So usually something fizzy is served. Traditionally it's champagne, but that doesn't actually suit everybody's tastes nowadays, nor does it suit everybody's budget. A lot of people actually tend to go towards Prosecco. That's obviously become a lot more trendier in recent years, a lot more affordable, and if you're like me, I much prefer the taste of it. So often is the case that Prosecco is served. You'll want to have another alcoholic drink on offer as well, whether that's a cocktail, something that suits you. Things that people tend to go for are a Pimm's cocktail, because it's obviously very British. Aperol Spritz has definitely come up the ranks recently. You could go for your favourite cocktail and serve that as the alternative. You could go more traditional and go with a Kir Royale. The options are endless. But it is nice to have two alcoholic options. You can then also add bottled beer if you want to, but that is entirely up to you. And you have to make sure that there is a soft drink option as well as water. Make sure your guests are nice and hydrated, especially if it's hot. So the best thing to do is have a think about what you would like to serve and then speak to your venue or your caterer depending on who is serving the drinks. Make sure if you are able to provide your own alcohol that you've checked if you're paying for corkage or not, and again then speak to whoever's going to be serving them for you to go through the options and the quantities. They should be able to guide you here. Okay, so moving on to canapes. These are known basically as small bites. Most couples tend to go for a savoury canapé as opposed to a sweet canapé. I have been to a wedding before where they've served chocolate coated strawberries, which was lovely, but I'm going to be honest with you, it didn't line anybody's stomach. It didn't help with the hunger pangs that people were starting to get. It was really nice for the first bite or two, but that was the only option. So I think there is a reason that people tend to go down the savoury route. People are hungry. Not everybody has lunch before they go to a wedding. They should do, but they don't. So by this point in the day, they really want something that's actually going to help line their stomachs. Remember, people are more than likely going to be drinking. Not everybody, but it is more of a common thing to people be drinking. And I think as a couple as well, you'd probably like to help line their stomachs to avoid anybody getting too wobbly too early. So definitely have a think about your options. You'll definitely want to have a few different options of canapes being handed around, and you obviously need to remember any dietary requirements. So liaise with your caterer, as you obviously will do. How many times can I say obviously? And they will help guide you here. They'll also guide you on quantities, how many to have of each type, how many to have for say vegans or vegetarians, etc. Okay, so let's move on and talk about how you're going to entertain your guests during the drinks reception. So firstly, music, really important. Don't forget it. I've had a lot of couples that seem to forget about music at this part of the day. Now, you don't have to get fancy. You can literally just put together a Spotify playlist and play that through the venue's sound system. Obviously, just bear in mind, if you're having an outdoors drinks reception, check that they have speakers. If not, you will need to hire some equipment to do that. You'll need a small PA system with some speakers, which doesn't tend to cost too much, so don't panic. It would end up being cheaper than hiring a musician. Alternatively, musicians. So for example, some of my couples have done a massive range of things for their drinks reception. We've had a harpist, we've had a string quartet, we've had a shanty player, we've had acoustic guitarist, we've had an acoustic band. Oh, there's so many different options when it comes to musicians. So just go with what suits you, your vibe, your personality, and the theme of the day that you're trying to put together. But don't forget music. And then what about some alternative entertainment? Do you just want to keep it to music and mingling? So your guests are just going to chat, they're going to socialise, they're going to mingle, enjoy some music, enjoy a drink and a couple of canapes. That is an absolutely wonderful way to spend a couple of hours. If, however, you want to add something a little extra, then you can always consider things like lawn games, mini golf, a bouncy castle. You can have a caricaturist around. There's so many different options. Again, it's literally endless. So go with what works for you, and hopefully those little ideas will help sort of spark some inspiration for you. So you can do all of the above suggestions or none of them. Work with your budget, work with your personality, and work with what is right for you. If you feel like you need a little bit more support throughout your planning process, then hop on over to my Facebook group where I have a fabulous community of brides all helping each other with their planning, supporting each other, and I hop in very regularly doing weekly trainings and commenting on all their posts to help with their planning. So if that sounds like it's a bit of you, then hop on over and join the gang. The doors are currently open. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. You can also leave a comment below and let me know if you've got any questions in regards to your drinks reception.